I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to another review. There's another paid request, this time from Jamil. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested, for pretty much any type of video, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. I'll try to get to it as soon as I can. This is a film that no one really talks about. And when it came out, it got thrown under the bus. I know the director, Tom Holland, he even said he shouldn't have directed the film. It was a mistake because this was him wanting to do something outside of the horror genre. Because Tom Holland, the director, did Fright Night. And then the year after this did the original Child's Play. So again, he wanted to do something different from the horror genre. And I thought he did a more than competent job. And I guess originally this film was supposed to star Cher. That's why the character has sort of an Italian name to it, but they kept that when they cast Whoopi Goldberg, which I had no issue with. And I liked Whoopi Goldberg a lot more than Cher. I'm sorry, I cannot see Cher in this. Whoopi Goldberg, it was cool, because this was after Jumpin' Jack Flash, which is my favorite Whoopi Goldberg film. I love Jumpin' Jack Flash. I think that's a hilarious film. One of my favorite comedies, probably be in my top 20. I love Jumpin' Jack Flash. You see this face? This is the face of a woman on the edge. Yeah, my wife has the same face. Now you got a choice. Do you want to work here? Or do you want to live? But this, yeah, it's cliche. And the fact of you have the boss who yells at the cop. You have the fellow cops who are assholes. You have the partner where they have friction, but then they start to bond with each other. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff you say is cliche. At the time, it was labeled a ripoff of Beverly Hills Cop. But it's really not. I mean, okay, yes, you have a black comedian who now is doing an action film. Okay. If that makes it Beverly Hills Cop, alright. But the plot, the story, is not Beverly Hills Cop. It's not someone dying, and then the person has to go to another city, another location, and then it's a fish out of water story where their sensibilities are being argued with the more high life, luxurious sensibilities. And that's not the case at all with this movie. So that's what I mean. It's not really a ripoff of Beverly Hills Cop. I mean, that's like saying Blue Street is a ripoff of Beverly Hills Cop, and I don't know if I could say that as well. I mean, yeah, okay, a black person comedian as an action star. What, is Bad Boys a ripoff of Beverly Hills Cop? I don't know. I think that's kind of unfair to call it that. But Whoopi Goldberg here, she's undercover. One thing leads to another. These bad guys took over this warehouse where these drugs were at. And what happened, unbeknownst to these, is that the other bad guys, one of them was high and processed the cocaine wrong. So there's a lethal dose of LSD, or no, PCP? I think it was PCP. Anyway, it's a lethal dose, so if you take it, you go insane, and then you die within a matter of minutes. I like that idea. I like the idea that there's a drug out there that they need to find, that the bad guys who kill and stole it from the other bad guys, they don't realize that this stuff's fucked up. And that gives an extra sense of danger to what's going on within the plot line, within the story. And of course, lo and behold, the drug is called Fatal Beauty, hence the title. But yeah, I like that idea. I like the story. It's like a non-horror version of Street Trash. If you remember Street Trash, where the 10 to 5 Viper, you drink it and you melt. It's not that far, but it's still something that you take and... But still, because they still 18 still times. What makes the film work is the cast and the action scenes. Like, the action scenes, no, they're not Michael Bay, but they're fairly violent. Quite a bit of blood squibs. Especially the ending where it's in a mall and Whoopi Goldberg's going after bad guys and a bunch of... Like, the entire security mall force gets wiped out by the bad guys. And she's going from store to store, shootouts. Whoopi Goldberg's pretty badass, and granted, at times she's firing a gun. Did you tell she's not the most expert at firing a gun? Like, you tell when someone's from... Like, you just tell. So that's a little nitpick. But I think Whoopi Goldberg, I liked her as an actor. I liked her as a comedian. It was cool to see her in an action film of this type, which she didn't get to do much again, probably because this film bombed badly with critics and with the audience. And no, it's not the most original film, I'll give you that, but I still think it's an entertaining film. And when I say the cast, not just Whoopi Goldberg, but Sam Elliott, which I don't know if I buy them as a couple, but I was fine with them when they're bantering back and forth, and they're kind of talking shit to each other. I thought that worked fine. But to see them as a couple, as an item, I don't know. I don't think it had that type of chemistry. I think it had the grudging respect chemistry. Not the I want to fuck your brains out chemistry. Maybe that's just me. But I love Sam Elliott. It's always great to see Sam Elliott in a film, whether it be in The Big Lebowski, Shakedown, which actually they got a Blu-ray. I think this has a Blu-ray too, which I would like to pick up this Blu-ray. I don't think it has any features, sadly, but it'd be nice to see how this looks in HD. I gotta remember that. But Sam Elliott plays the bodyguard, the security guy to this rich guy who Whoopi Goldberg thinks is a part of it. As Sam Elliott wants to protect his employer, but then he gets the hots for Whoopi. And they start working together. Brad Dourif is your main villain, yes. And for all intents and purposes, if this film was never made, Brad Dourif may not have been the voice of Chucky. Because again, Tom Holland did the film. He cast Brad Dourif, who's playing the villain. You have to assume Tom Holland said, hey, this guy works as a villain. Let him be the voice of the next movie I'm doing, The Doll and Child's Play. So in a way, this was Brad Dourif's audition for that role. And Brad Dourif does a good job. He's not in the film as much as I thought he would be. But, I mean, I'm a big fan of Brad Dourif, and when he's on screen, it's always nice to see, because he's a very criminally underrated actor. The Exorcist 3, even his bit role in Stephen King's Graveyard Shift, he always knocks it out of the park. He's like the one thing positive I'll say about Rob Zombie's Halloween films. In fact, I think he should have been the star, and it should have been from his point of view. It would have been different, since you want to be different. If you want to tell the whole story from his point of view, I think that'd be more unique and better, because Brad Dourif is a better actor than Scout Taylor straight out of Compton. Sorry, but not sorry. So Whoopi, Sam Elliott, Brad Dourif. Even at the very beginning, there's Cheech Marin. Just a guy working at a bar. Which is just, by this point, is always Cheech and Chong. Cheech. But he's just playing this bit role. I don't even think he has a name. He's just a guy at a bar. And I think the movie's funny from time to time. Right at the beginning, Whoopi's undercover talking to Cheech, who's getting her a drink. Listen, I don't speak Spanish because I don't know what the fuck you be saying. You want a glass? No, wrap it up in the taco, dumb motherfucker. Yeah, I want a glass. Just talking shit to him. And I thought she had the right attitude for this kind of movie. When a guy shoots at her, nice shot, asshole, and then shoots the guy. Yes, of course, it's the cop who plays by their own rules. Although, it's black, it's female, that's progressive. But no one wants to say that. Just, apparently that's something that was never done in the 80s. It's only been done in the past 5 years and 5 minutes. Where's all the progressiveness? This is a fucking movie with a lady who is black, who is a badass. But all the movie sucks. It's Beverly Hills Cop. It's better than Beverly Hills Cop 3. Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2 are better than this. Yes. Beverly Hills Cop 2 came out the same year. Yes, that's better than this. Because that had... Like, Tony Scott has more of a style in the action. Like, Tom Holland, he directs the action fine. I wouldn't say, again, he has any style to it. But there's some nice bits of slow motion in the third act. And... Well, not really slow motion, I shouldn't say, but... Yeah, I'm watching this film like this. This is a fun film. It's entertaining. Get some laughs. Get some chuckles. Get some decent action bits. The action is not shaky cam. It's not edited so heavily that it's incoherent. Actual blood squibs. Holy shit. Remember that back in the day? What's a squib? A little explosive. Put some fake blood. Make it look like someone got shot. Without shitty CGI. Other people recognize Ruben Blades, who would be in Predator 2. He's a cop who works with Whoopi Goldberg. One of the asshole cops is Charlie Hallahan from John Carpenter's The Thing. He's a guy who's on the table and his stomach opens up and bites the doctor's arms off. That's Charlie Hallahan. John P. Ryan from Avenging Force, Delta Force 2, Death Wish 4. He's the lieutenant, the yelling boss, yelling at our hero. This guy named... He's the rich guy who Sam Elliott does security for. What was his name? I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. Harris Yulin. I recognize him because he's the judge from Ghostbusters 2. I gave him the chair. Why don't you just tell me you don't believe in ghosts? You're next, pal. I like Ghostbusters 2 quite a bit. I think that's an underrated sequel. But anyway, yeah, he played the judge in that. He was also in Scarface. He's like, fuck you, and Scarface shoots him. That's in the scene where he tells the other guy, Pete, don't fly straight. Ain't that right, Frank? I think there's James LeGros from Phantasm 2. He's in this as a guy who threatens Whoopi, and then Whoopi owns his ass and steers the shit out of him. And then he actually changes his ways, which I thought that was kind of interesting. And like I said, there's fun bits of dialogue. You know, she's undercover and Sam Elliott goes up, you're either undercover or you have shitty taste in clothes. My cat's on the roof. So what are you going to do? Shoot him down? Or she's trying to talk to his mom whose son had overdosed, but she doesn't care. She worried more about tennis. And then she's being such a bitch and hits Whoopi, like kicks her in the shin, and Whoopi gets pissed and just punches her right through the fucking window. And there's also a really good acting performance by Whoopi Goldberg. Like, there's a bit where she tells her backstory to Sam Elliott, where she was 14, she had a baby, this guy went out with her on a dare. She got hooked on drugs. Her daughter was dead because it got into her stash. That's when she sobered up and wanted to change her weight. Like, a very good acting performance by Whoopi in that scene. Like, that dealt with that better than Homer and Eddie. Homer and Eddie with her and James Belushi didn't know what tone it was. To me, this is an R-rated action comedy, consistent in its tone. That again, like I said before, to repeat myself, it has the cliches of the yelling boss and the asshole other cops. And again, I don't... Sam Elliott and Whoopi Goldberg, I don't buy them as a couple. I think they had a sex scene, but then it was cut out. Now, I would not be surprised if they cut out, because it's a white man and a black lady. We can't have them fuck. I don't give a shit about that. I would say cut it out because, like I said, they don't have the... They have the butting of the heads, but respect well. Friendship well. As a couple, I don't know, just... I don't think they have that right chemistry, like I've said before. I was at the ending at the mall and all the squids and things being shot up. Whoopi Goldberg gets a rifle, shoots the shit out of someone. Spoiler, this is spoiler alert. I even like the way it ends where she shoots at Brad Dourif. Kevlar, bitch. So she takes her gun, shoots him in the neck. Smith & Wesson, asshole. Like, this is my kind of movie. That's the thing with Fatal Beauty. This is my kind of film. This is my kind of picture. And I'm a sucker for it. And I don't think it's that nearly as bad as a 5.4 on IMDb. Like, if you like Whoopi Goldberg, if you like action comedies, if you like cop movies, it's well worth a look. I don't think it's just a ripoff of Beverly Hills Cop. Whoopi Goldberg holds her own when cops are giving her shit. You ever do it doggy style? Nah, tell me what it's like. Or, you know what? I don't want to arrest you. I just want to go home and get some sleep. Okay? I don't want to talk to a snot-nosed little wimp dick in designer jeans. And there's even some scenes I didn't expect. Again, spoiler. And this is spoilers. That's supposed to be a countdown. There's a point where they're at a guy's place and they're shooting the guy. And the guy gets shot like 20 fucking times. And even they're like, what the hell's keeping him up? In this type of film, Whoopi Goldberg, I don't expect the guy being shot 20 fucking times. But it's because of the drug, the PCP portion of it. And then they fall down. So again, when I'm watching this, it's been a while since I've seen this. It was kind of like watching it for the first time. And like I said, the bit with Whoopi Goldberg tells her backstory. That bit with the PCP guy. How action-packed the ending is. No, it's not a John Woo or Michael Bay film, but for what it is, pretty decent. I mean, you could argue easily that this has better action than the first Beverly Hills Cop. Now, the first Beverly Hills Cop is better because it has more of a witty story and is more sincerely funny with Eddie Murphy at his prime, absolutely fucking hilarious, and the way Judge Reinhold and them... That's a better story and a lot funnier. What elevates that film. But when you look at the first Beverly Hills Cop, the action is fine. But, you know, the opening scene, for example. But, like, the action at the end is fine. But I'm just saying, if you're comparing the two, the finale of Beverly Hills Cop and the finale of this, action-wise, just action, I would say this is more exciting, action-wise. Because of being in the mall and all the little... Like Whoopi Goldberg did behind a stand that blows up, and the bigger body count, and the more squibs, and I just mentioned that because all the compares to Beverly Hills Cop. You know, that's a funnier film, but this, I do think the action scenes are a bit more impactful. Now, Beverly Hills Cop 2, I think has a beat on the action because it's Tony Scott. Just Tony Scott has more experience because he had done Top Gun. But yeah, Fatal Beauty I don't think deserves to be kicked around as much as it should have. I mean, as much as it did. Not should have. It should not have. Whatever. I'm discombobulated. All the fucking bullshit that gets praised nowadays, and this one gets thrown under the bus. And then Tom Holland's like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that movie." I'm like, dude, Tom, come on. If you're talking about Thinner, I understand. Thinner is probably your worst film. This one, nah, I don't think this film's bad at all. Not at all. It was fun to watch. Gotta pick up the Blu-ray sometime. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. And like I said, if you like cop movies, like 80s action films, and hey, it's progressive, but it's not being bullshit about it. Who would have thunk? See you guys later. Bye-bye.